Thanks for joining us today on CCnDoc Talk, where we talk about everything under the sun. You never know quite what you're going to get, but you'll always be entertained. Welcome to CCnDoc Talk. Today we're going to talk about joyful living. And I just got done doing a meditation where I really was contemplating with, to be a peaceful person doesn't mean that you have to just be quiet. And I think of, I think of people like the Dalai Lama or Gandhi and some of them, and they're just like super quiet and calm and still. And I'm like, that's just not who I am. So how can I be a peaceful person, but not necessarily just somebody who sits in, I don't know what my perception is of these people, of gurus, right? But it's certainly not like a high energy outgoing, even though they have a lot of great charisma. And I'm thinking, okay, so what does this mean for me? How do I live a more peaceful, be in tune to my heart space and all that, and still be true to who I am, which is kind of a high energy outgoing person? And so, in thinking through it, I really came to a conclusion. It comes down to being joyful. So it's okay for me to still have a to-do list. It's okay for me to still have an agenda. But my conclusion is that no matter what I do, I have to do it with joy. So if I'm going to sit and spend an evening or two doing QuickBooks update, how do I find joy in that?
That's a really good question, because I would never, ever, ever be able to find joy in that.
Some things are an arranged marriage, right? Yeah, you have to do this.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say, if you don't find joy in it, then you don't have to do it. You're coming at it from a totally different perspective.
I'm coming at it from a different perspective, because it's not like you can just stop all your responsibilities in life and just sit like a guru does, right?
Well.
Some days I would prefer. I don't know. Did they pay taxes? Because we still have to pay taxes, so I have to do accounting.
Some days I would like to just meditate off and on all day. It would be great.
Right. So my conclusion is that really, how do I find joy in everything I do? So when I go to cook, I can put music on and dance while I'm cooking. When I go outside to do wood, like yesterday I went out to stack wood and I was like on the clock. It's like, I only have so much time to do this, and the weather's still nice and I got to do it. So how do I let go of the clock? That's the big thing. How do I less focus on the clock? Because you and I can easily get into the spaces like, we've got to get this done today and that done today and that done today. And next thing you know is you're so focused on the agenda, by putting that pressure on yourself, you take the joy out of things.
Well, and you are that personality type that will always have more things to do in a day than there is time. Like you have this illusion. We've talked about this before when we talk about real colors and oranges. I mean, there is this illusion that there are more hours in a day than what they are. So
I can cram 12 more things in.
Right. And then when you don't, sometimes you get frustrated or disappointed. And I'm like, well, there really are only a few hours of the day for you to do those things, especially when we get up leisurely like we have been many mornings, thankfully. But it's a matter of choices. Like, you want to sleep an extra hour, that, there's an hour that you can't get other shit done. So, it is about not paying attention to the clock, but in the sense of you get done what you get done, and I do think sometimes we struggle with prioritizing, right. Everything takes priority, but that is so not the case. And I think we've learned that in this last year. There are definitely things that, are priority, and there are definitely things that are not priority that we might have made priority in the past.
Yeah.
So back to you, but I was just thinking about that from we do take the joy out of it when we make it we have to get X, Y, Z, P, D, Q, A, B, C, R.
All done in a day.
Yeah.
In an hour. Come on.
Right.
We could do it in an
hour.
Know, right? And even though you think you're slowing down, like I could have tried to get all 11 loads of laundry done in one day, but there wasn't enough space to hang all that.
Right.
I think I'm slowing down, but I'm still kind of obsessed that it has to get done.
Yes.
I'm still like every day getting in there, getting it done.
It's that corporate thing that isn't out of you yet, I think. It's that, you these self-imposed deadlines. Well, and you also have Activator in terms of StrengthsFinder.
Yep, and Maximizer.
But
things that
we've also decided that movement is really important to keep us joyful. And so, when you try to get a walk in and a swim in and a body groove dance in and meditation in.
And you got to eat in there 6 times a day.
Right.
I mean,
that doesn't leave much time to do other stuff. How do people work?
I've asked that for years. I think it's just really a matter of, you're going to eat a meal, you're going to make a meal, and I think of people with kids, right? The chaos in their world is just that much greater. And while you're in the kitchen cooking, you're thinking of all the other 12 things that need to be done, as opposed to if you're in the kitchen cooking, can you just be mindful, just even for a few pieces of that preparation of the meal, to go, this is really cool, and I can get some joy out of just being mindful for a moment, even if it's a blip on the radar, or to have the child help with a portion of it, even if it makes a bigger mess, which we all know it does. No.
Well, and being mindful might be thinking about, where does this food come from? What was the process that it took to get it here? What country does this food derive from, or the culture behind it? I mean, those are the kinds of things about being mindful while you're cooking and while you're eating as well.
Yeah.
Like really exploring the tastes and the textures of food and taking your time to savor the flavors. And
we had pizza the other day, and I thought of just the spaghetti sauce. What was the journey that the spaghetti sauce took to make it to the jar in our home? And I mean, from where the tomatoes were grown and trucked in, to the processing plants, to the jar, to the grocery store. It's a heck of a journey that it takes to even get to our house before we even prepare it to then eat it and consume it. And many of us just consume it mindlessly. Right. It's like, boom, okay, meal done. Now let's go watch TV. Let's go do something else. And so I'm still trying to figure out this transition to busy doing nothing, because I'm still busy doing everything. Mm-hmm. But I think, and the mindfulness, just really bringing in that practice of the mindfulness and awareness and being in the moment, but then also taking it to another level of, how do I add a little bit of joy to it, and being less concerned with the time frame, less concerned with the to-do list, and find the joy in the process of, even if it's a responsibility that has to be done.
So how do you do that with QuickBooks? Because you're usually on a deadline for our tax attorney, and you're usually, down to the wire with it, because there's so much, that has to get done. How do you do that with something like, and QuickBooks is just, forgive me, infuriating. So how do you do that? I mean, because it's easy to do it with the things that you don't mind doing, like, stacking wood or chopping wood and cooking, but what about the things that you really don't like?
It's a good question, but there is joy within it, because I can find joy in the process of it, knowing that I have the competency, I have the skill, I have the ability to do these things, and so within
it's a damn good thing, because I don't.
Right? And within that, there's pride, right? And when there's pride, there's joy, and so
possibly
I think,
refunds.
And refunds, right? No, just
tax
to
refunds.
But to then share the results with you, and have your undivided attention, and being mindful with the results of how we're doing with our budget every month.
I know you are always proud to show the results after you've spent a couple of days on QuickBooks inputting everything, because you're the accountant for the business as well as our personal stuff. And oh my goodness.
And one thing I'm doing differently is I'm not trying to get the books up to date all in one night. I'm not waiting 6 months or 1 year to try to do so many months at a time, because I was so busy I couldn't get to them. And it wasn't a priority, and now it's just so much easier if I stay on top of it on a more regular basis, and to be able to see the progress. And so I think there is joy in it, and I just have to look at it as hey, I get to do this tonight. I get to update these things. And I really am blessed to have the skill, the competency, and the ability to do these things.
I think what you said there was just a really important word change, and I noticed that the other day. Oftentimes I say I need to do something even when I really enjoy doing it, and so I'm going to start saying, I want to do that.
I get to do this today.
Yeah, I want to do this today, or I get to do this today. But I often, even if it's something I enjoy doing, if it's on my to-do list, it becomes a need to do. And I think the difference between need and want or get to is like really, really significant.
Right, and at the expense of making this podcast just a little bit longer, it was really exciting coming back from our 41-day celebration road trip. And when we got home, you're like, I want to help unload the van, and I want to be the runner up the stairs, because you were able to, and you felt physical, and it felt good to be able to be that runner.
Yeah, for the first time in almost a year.
Yeah, you got to be the runner cleaning out the van, and it was fantastic. I'm like, wow, this is great.
I know, because
you're like,
I don't want to be in the van. I'm like, well, I don't want to be in the van either.
Packing all the stuff and getting it ready for the bags and the boxes to come out.
I mean, it was really cool to be able
cathartic.
to, go up and down the stairs with, big heavy bags.
So so that transformation in the mindset is, I get to do these things. I get to carry the groceries in. I'm able to.
Right.
Just coming off this cancer journey, I'm able to do these things, and I'm so excited that I'm able to do these things. And then, you and I now have a ton of laundry to put away. And we could say, oh my gosh, I have to go do that. Or we get to go, we get to go and put laundry away. We get to go hang our clothes up. And in that process, we might even sort and clean out our closet a little bit. So we get to. And maybe we just don't have to do it again, get rid of the clock, however long it takes us, and find joy in it, and because we're able to do these things.
Yeah. Good advice.
So finding joy because of that we're able to, and mindfulness. I get to be mindful when I put my laundry away, and when I touch something. Does it spark joy? Do I love this or not? I mean, I brought it with on a trip, and did I wear it or not? And, maybe that's the way to clean out, is to be mindful of every article. And if it doesn't spark joy and I don't want it to go in the future with me, then it's time to just release it and give it to somebody else that it can spark joy for. Anyway.
That sounds like the topic for a whole different podcast.
All right. On that note, thank you for joining us.
Have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to CCnDoc Talk. We'd love for you to follow us on social media at CCnDoc. That's CCnDoc. And you can visit our website at CCnDoc.com. We also take monthly donations to support this broadcast if you're so inclined. We'd love to hear your comments, suggestions, and questions, and we'll do our best to respond. Thanks, and have a fantabulous day.